only paper I have in front of me is this proclamation. This could be a very bizarre day. This might not work. Well, I don't know. The only way to make this entertaining is to swear a lot.
Can't do that. Can't do that.
All right, we can't do that. Okay, so Gerard is not here as well today. The deputy mayor is not here. Is Michelle?
Michelle's here.
Oh, God. Michelle is here. All right. We're ready to go then. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order. Today, most of us are going to be trying to use these electronic gadgets to see if we can do it without a lot of paper. So bear with us as we go through it. You're ready, Mona? Everybody ready?
Yes.
Okay, the first thing, the agenda for the public meeting of October 17th, a motion to accept the agenda as presented, moved by Councillor Stoyle, seconded by Councillor Aker. Are there any additions to the agenda other than those which are contained electronically now, I suppose? I can't even say in the binder anymore. Or on the desk. We'll call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried. The next for us would be the minutes and the action report. We are going to deal with the minutes of our public meeting of October the 5th. First, I'll accept the motion to accept the minutes as presented. Moved by Councillor Tessier, seconded by Councillor Walsh. Are there any errors or omissions? Again, we're talking the meeting of October 5th. Any errors or omissions from that public meeting? Hearing none, I'll call it. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Business arising, then, from the minutes of October 5th. Business arising. Councillor Tessier.
Item 749. Our last meeting we approved our director to attend, or the Director of Corporate Services to attend the Institute of Public Administration of Canada, the IPAC conference in Toronto.
Right.
That's actually been cancelled. So now we're recommending approval for the Director of Corporate Services to attend the Investigative Accounting and Fraud Risk Management training being delivered by the Canadian Institute of Chartered Accountants.
Okay. Are we in a position where we need to actually rescind this motion and then bring the motion forward that you're proposing under Corporate Services so that it all flows properly? I'm throwing that out to everybody. I think,
Yes.
right? I would think the thing to do with the leave of council, we'll accept a motion from you now to rescind motion 10-10-749.
Yes.
And that's moved by Councillor Tessier. It is seconded by Councillor Aker. Question or comment? All those in favor? That motion is carried. Now, we can hold a motion on this to Corporate Services if you want.
If you wish.
All right, that's probably the best way.
Yes.
Are there any other items from business arising?
761 about cleanup.
Hang on now. Hang on. Stop the clock. 761. I got to get. Okay, bulk garbage collection. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about the trees and the damage during Ego. If the trees and everything have all been picked up, and if we've had any problems or anything in that area.
Turn things over to Mr. Lush for a second. Mr. Lush, how are we doing on both our bulk garbage pickup general and the special pickup we had for picking up the trees and the damage from Igor?
Your Worship, bulk garbage is running a little behind schedule, but they're not too far behind schedule. The trees, we've been through the city once, and we're on our way back through.
So we're pretty well done with that overall.
Trees, no, I think there's as many out this time. Still just as many trees coming in every day. The pile grows, but we've been through the city once, so we started and we collected everything, and now we're going back through behind bulk garbage. So
I heard from Deputy Chief Hickey this morning. Gave me a call from the fire department. And he expressed a concern, which I'll articulate to council and to you. He expressed a concern to me this morning that in actual fact, if we could get all of these trees out of the system before bonfire night, it would be a very wise thing. And I kind of said to him, I'm anticipating we won't run into a problem. He had phoned Mayor O'Keefe, and then he phoned me. And I said, I'm not anticipating that we're going to have any difficulty achieving that. Most of the work has been done. So am I lying to him?
it's going to be tough to have all the trees chipped by that time.
Yeah, to have them chipped, I'm not worried about it. I think it's getting them off the street and getting them out of people's yards.
It won't be a problem. Get them off the streets. Get them all chipped will be a problem.
That'll take some time.
Yeah, but not to get them off the street.
All right, that's fine. Thank you so much. Sorry, Councillor Stoyles, anything else to bring up? Any other business arising? Any other business arising? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. There's nothing from the action report, I'm assuming. We'll move on. The next item that we have on the agenda today is proclamation and presentations. We have one proclamation today, and that is a proclamation that I have in front of me. I said it was the one piece of paper I had. So I'm going to read this proclamation into the record and sign it. I'm going to invite Ida Roberts, who is president of the Catholic Women's League for Mary Queen of the World, to come forward and have a few words to say and address council on this issue. And just before we do that, Ida, I'm going to read the proclamation into the record and sign it. Whereas never before in the history of civilization has pornography been so readily available to all segments of society, entering every home in some form, either through books, through magazines, radio, television, the internet, satellite dishes, videos, and computers. And whereas exploitation of sex has become an addiction where men, women, and children are suffering degradation, torture, and even death to satisfy the insatiable appetites of the addicted. And whereas children especially have been victimized by the effects of pornography, especially in increasing numbers suffer pain of incest and molestation. And whereas the Catholic Women's League of Mary Queen of the World in Mount Pearl wish to stand together to eradicate this disease from our society. Now, therefore, I, Randy Sims, Mayor of the City of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim October 17th through to the 24th, 2010, White Ribbon Against Pornography Week, as a sign that we, as a moral people, stand together in the City of Mount Pearl and wish to stamp out all forms of pornography. And with that, I am going to affix my signature on behalf of the city. And Ms. Roberts, if you would, I'm going to invite you to come forward. And Matt, because of the way we do this on the internet these days, Ida, it might be best if you come up here and stand next to me and I can give you this microphone. We don't have everything set up for speakers yet in a general sense because we do this on it. You come right up around right here with me. There you go. And you can address council.
Thank you very, very much, Your Worship, for allowing us to come here today and signing our proclamation. And I'm sure we're all aware of the importance of the work that needs to be done in this area. Just going to let you know that while this week, October 17th to 24th, is the focus week, this campaign is ongoing all year round, and the fight needs to continue. This year's focus is on internet service providers, and we're all asked to be observant as to what you see on TV and the various other media equipment that's available to us. And there's a report site, which is www.cybertips.ca, that we're asked to keep in mind if, in fact, we do see anything come across our airwaves. And eventually, the CRTC as well is being vigilant, and we would be reporting directly to the Honourable James Moore at the House of Commons, who's the Minister responsible for the CRTC. Just wanted to acknowledge that on June 17th, 2010, a child trafficking bill, C-268, which overcame its final hurdle to become law. And this new law provides that a minimum sentence of 5 years imprisonment for anyone convicted of trafficking a minor in Canada, and a minimum of 6 years for cases with aggravating factors. At least the work of all of us is being recognized, and the problem is certainly being recognized. And just to leave you with a few tips to kind of reinforce the seriousness of what's been going on in pornography. Every second, $307,564.34 is spent on pornography.
Every second.
Every second.
Over $250,000 a second.
Every second, there are 28,258 internet users viewing pornography. That's every second again. And every second, 372 internet users are typing adult terms into search engines. Every 39 minutes, a new pornographic video is being created in the US. And this more shocking, of the thousands of offenders successfully prosecuted for the possession of child pornography, 83% had images of children between the ages of 6 and 12. 39% had images of children between the ages of 3 and 5. And 19% had images of children younger than 3. So I think with these facts, we all need to recognize that there's still a lot of fighting to be done to put this down.
Here, here.
And thank you very much for your...
Ms. Roberts, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Here's a copy of the proclamation that we've signed today, and honored to do so. Pass on our congratulations to all of the women involved with the Catholic Women's League. This is a tremendous initiative and one the community wishes to applaud, and we honor you for doing it and pointing all of these things out to us. The council wish to address the matter at all? I'm looking around. What are we doing? Ray is taking a picture.
Get some of the ladies come up and get a picture.
Yeah, let's get Pauline and everybody up here. Kathleen, everybody come up. Well, let's do it up front.
Okay.
Is that the easiest way to do it? We do it up front? Do we screw up the internet if we do it
After
up
this
front?
week, I think we're gonna have to have a staff here, somebody.
You and I will do like this. Pauline, you get on that side. You get over there. You get over there. Come over, ready? You and I, here. We'll do it like this. We'll hold it up. There we go.
Okay.
Everybody smile. There you go. Thank you very much. Folks, congratulations on this. Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you, Pauline. Uh-oh.
Any time out.
That might be an issue. Hey, that we didn't
Change the setting up.
that we didn't know about. Did they time out on you?
Yeah.
Just gonna go to corporate services.
And then two, or is it? I didn't change.
No, we're good.
Yeah,
We're good.
service.
Okay, we are up to committee reports. Are we not? We are. Committee reports, Corporate Services Committee. Paula Tessier.
Thank you, Your Worship. A very short report this week. We've got our invoices for approval listed 1 through 8, totaling $280,194.82, and I move that these be accepted as presented.
Moved by Councillor Tessier, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Question or comment on the 8 that are listed? I see our contribution to Robin Hood Bay, household hazardous waste, and residential drop-off, I'm assuming is what those acronyms stand for, $132,917. I regret that we have to pay that, mainly because I think contained in it is the loss of our household hazardous waste days. And that's a problem for us, I believe.
And also with the residential drop-off, I'm not quite sure that as many people are dropping it off as we're paying for.
Well, there you go.
Quite
There you
frankly.
go. Any question about any of these folks? A lot of street upgrading going on, recognized here. I wonder, the Lighting and Traffic Systems Limited, the replacement of one traffic pole on Commonwealth Avenue cost this city $29,000. Like, people think those street lights would cost $29,000, and they're like $280,000. That's just a pole we're talking about. It's unbelievable. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Nay. Motion is carried.
And of course, I also now have one sheet of paper outside of the kit. And that is the piece that we were bringing in earlier. The committee is recommending approval for the Director of Corporate Services to attend investigative accounting and fraud risk management training being delivered by the Canadian Institute of Chartered Accountants, of which the Director is a member. And that's in Toronto on November 4th and 5th of this year. And that this training covers key issues such as accounting fraud, loss quantifications, litigation support, risk management, dispute resolution, and insurance matters. So it's certainly a very pertinent conference, and of course we're recommending that she be approved to attend, and I so move.
Something at the same day. I mean, chances
It is moved by Councillor Tessier, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call it. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
And that's it for corporate services.
And that's corporate services. We go back to our agenda. I'm learning how to do all of this. Engineering services, it comes up. It looks pretty good. Engineering services. Councillor Aker.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. The first item we have here is related to the Sunrise Avenue Drainage Basin Project. We had a tender call. There were 3 bids received, ranging from $456,000 up to $847,000. And the recommendation coming from staff and our consultants is that we accept the lowest bidder, and that would be Modern Paving in the amount of $456,332.42, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Aker, seconded again by Councillor Stoyles. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. And does that conclude engineering? That's all we've got?
It includes engineering, thank you.
This is going to be a very, very short week. And a very short meeting, I think. Planning and Land Use Committee. Deputy Mayor Locke is gone. Councillor Aker, you're going to be taking over that one today as well, with Councillor Tessier as the alternate.
And I'll be, well, I'm a very short councillor, and I will be very short in my presentation. The first item is we're seeking council's approval to purchase a piece of land for buffer. The land is owned by Eastport Properties, and basically it's between the Moffat Road residential development and the Beckland Business Park, and both of these are currently under development. The purchase is contemplated to be 1.07 acres, and the amount of money required is $107,000. And I might note that this amount of money has been provided for in the budget, and I so move.
It is moved by Councillor Akers, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Question or comment?
Question, Your Worship.
Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, just on this, I know we discussed this many times, and I think it's just my memory that's failing. So we're buying the land at $117,000 to provide the buffer. Now this is a land that's under residential development. Has how much of the what I'm assuming, or what I'm trying to remember, is I guess the buffer that's been provided by the developer on that, they've provided the necessary buffer. This is over and above. Is that correct? Is that what we're asking for here? To provide, because I know there's been some issues in that area before.
I believe that's the circumstance, but we'll turn to the planner. Mr. Yevchek.
Your Worship, and Councillor Walsh, what we are actually purchasing is 10 meters to add to an existing 20-meter buffer that the residential developer of the Moffat Road lands is providing. This 10-meter buffer is coming from industrial lands, so what we have in effect is a 30-meter buffer, or 100 feet, between residential lots and the back of industrial buildings.
Yeah. Further,
The back of the building or the back of the land?
Back of the lot, back of the lots.
Back of the lot line, 100 meters or 100 feet,
100 feet
to the lot line.
Yeah, the back of the lot line for the residential lots to the back of the lot line of the industrial.
Exactly. The buildings could be much further apart than that.
Yes, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor
well,
Walsh
well,
again?
I think, again, I couldn't remember the details, but I thought that that's what it was. Over the years, of course, Your Worship, as all members of council know, at different times we've had a number of complaints. The development in that area is also changing as well, as we're all aware. So I think to do this and to expend $100,000 to try to make sure that we can, as much as possible, minimize the disruption to the neighborhood there, the abutting residential neighborhood, I think is excellent. It's kind of unusual that we go out and buy land above and beyond what's required,
yes,
because that's usually provided, the 20 meters provided by the developers. But I think it's in recognition of some of the issues and concerns, the problems that have been raised over the years in that particular area, that we made the decision to go out and add to that. And so I'm pleased to support it, and I think it's a great initiative, and I hope the people in the area also appreciate that this was a significant undertaking at a fairly significant cost to try to minimize disruption and to keep their neighborhood quiet.
Here, here.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. We'll call the question, or any other comments? We'll call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
The next item, Your Worship, is I'd like to move the development permit list, October 2nd to October 15th. You can see there's one permit there, basically number 82, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Tessier. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Okay, the next item, Your Worship, is building construction residential permits, as well as building construction commercial permits. The residential permits for the period October 2nd to 15th. For the period, $125,400 for residential and $288,080 for commercial. In addition, we also have civil works as well. No, that's blank, sorry. I move both of those.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
And finally, Your Worship, I have a notice of motion to read. In accordance with Section 39 of the City of Mount Pearl Act 1988, take notice that in accordance with Council's public notification policy, I will, at a regular meeting of Council, move an amendment to the text of the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 1988 that, if enacted, will amend Part 2, General Development Standards as follows. 1. Clarify the regulations numbering references to be consistent with numbering in the development regulations. 2. In Regulation 35, antenna, delete Regulation 35, subsection 3, Part D. And thirdly, in Regulation 40, height exceptions, delete the reference to 20% and replace with 25%. The intention of this amendment is to make the development regulations consistent with the Federal Radio Communication Act with respect to the placement and location of an antenna, dated this 19th day of October 2010. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. That concludes, I think that concludes all committee reports, does it not?
It does.
All right, we are, very quickly, we're off to new business. We started last time with Councillor Tessier. We're going to start this week with Councillor Aker.
And I have nothing here, Worship.
Nothing to add today. Councillor Walsh.
Yes, Your Worship. Of course, I just want to, as Chair of Community Services, if I could make a couple of comments about our Director who's leaving, of course. And this is his last public meeting after how many? 22 years? 22 years of a journey. He's tried to do it, and I think he's done a pretty good job. I'm going to turn this on. I don't do a very good job at that either. He's done a pretty good job, I think, of trying to keep this fairly low-key, but that's not usually Mr. Osmond's style. Mr. Osmond's style is one that's filled with life and exuberance and energy, and he'll certainly be sadly missed. Your Worship, in terms of some of the things that he was involved with, I just want you to imagine for a minute, if you can, a city without things such as a glacier or a national standard-sized baseball field, or for that matter, Admiralty House, the museum, of course, which was built in 1997, or actually rebuilt, redeveloped, renovated in 1997 to coincide with Prince Philip's visit. One of the things that we're probably most proud of throughout the entire year, of course, is the Focus on Youth Awards, which is an incredible night and extremely well done. Always taped by Rogers. And again, it was another innovation by our director. A pretty contentious issue that I guess council split was also the purchase of Park Place. I think if we look now back on that decision and look at the programs that are run there, particularly for the Seniors Independence Group and other groups, it was an excellent decision. And while we don't make money on it, and never intended to make money, I think what we've managed to do is break even and kind of cut our losses and provide a tremendous facility for people. The conceptual design and sort of redevelopment of an area around Powers Pond as a neighborhood park, all part of Mr. Osmond's legacy. The Team Guju complex, particularly Councillor Aker, I guess, the artificial turf and everything that went with that I know you were particularly involved in developing. And even though the director is not going to be around, Your Worship, to see it, although I'm sure he'll see it because his roots are still here, but I think the proposed new multiplex will have the fingerprints of Mr. Osmond all over it. So all of those kinds of things were sort of milestones, but then you think of things such as the actual Sport Alliance itself, which was an entirely new concept. The East meets West, and then eventually met North, which was a creation of the brainchild of Mr. Osmond. Somewhere along the road, he had a bit of a hankering for bluegrass. That didn't work out perhaps quite so well, but it was still a great idea, and some of the people who really loved the bluegrass.
The Gospel Festival was always a hit,
It
Ray.
was always a hit, exactly.
The Bluegrass Gospel always did well. The rest of it was suspect.
Exactly. There were things such as Youth Stock, no one's going to not remember the Pussycat Dolls. This was before my time, but I do remember a program, the Irish Passport program. Actually, it was a great program that had a lot of success, a lot more success than it was probably given credit for. These were at-risk youth for the most part, and it was an incredible program where all the students were placed. I remember it from being involved in the school system, and I remember Hilda Pollard's involvement in the program, and again, a great initiative on the part of Mr. Osmond and his involvement. I didn't know this, actually, but he was actually the first person to bring in nursery sod and use it on the sports fields. Now I think it's standard. All of the different municipalities bring in nursery sod and use it in the sports fields. He managed very well our 2005 the 50th anniversary celebrations. But I guess, in a lot of ways, Ray's going to be always remembered as being the life of the party. He was a lover of a good time, still is. Age hasn't changed that at all, and of course he hasn't aged a lot, or he's aged reasonably well, I would say, Ray. I'll leave it to the women.
He hasn't got near.
I'll leave it to the women to decide whether his age.
He hasn't got near as much hair as he used to
No,
have.
I saw a picture actually last week where you were jet black hair with a black mustache, so it definitely has worn you a little bit. Oh, you have it. You have another one, do you? I remember a few instances where Ray showed up as different people. I remember Pastor Flappers. I do remember Janet Jackson, and I particularly remember Rita McNeil down at the Employee Appreciation. But apparently he's done James Pearl, Elf, the Joker, Beetlejuice, Elton John, Zorro, and probably 100 others. Ray is obviously a thinker, an innovator, and I think a visionary, but he's also a doer, and I think it's all in the doing for the most part. He drives politicians crazy, Your Worship, at times because, of course, he never stops pushing the boundaries and trying to find a new or different or more creative way to do things, and I guess that's what makes him really successful. He stretches the rules a little bit at times. That's how he gets things done. I think if it's an idea that he has, that he really believes in, and he really believes passionately about it, Ray will find a way to get it done. Sometimes we've said jokingly over the years, well, sometimes it's easier to seek forgiveness and permission. He's done that too. And all in the name of trying to get something done that he really believed in. So, Ray, to you and to your family, the very best of luck. You'll certainly be sadly missed. I know we had a tremendous response to the ad, which means that everybody thinks your job is a great job, but no one will fill it the way that you did, and I certainly say that sincerely. All the best to you.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Stiles.
And Ray, all the best in your endeavours. John has said just about everything. I had a couple of items written down, the bluegrass
I stole your
and that, but all the best, and I'm sure wherever you go and whatever you do, you certainly will be successful. I do have a couple of items, Your Worship. This last week I was down and represented you on behalf of the city when a young lady from Mount Pearl, Juliana Quinn, was fire chief for a day.
Right.
And of course she came in, she was the lucky winner of the poster, and what a lovely poster she had. And it was great to be down here, and she had a tour, of course, of all the fire stations in the region, and of course she went to St. John's, and she had a lot of publicity for the day, and her picture was in the Telegram actually on the weekend. So it was, she was a lovely young lady, and Your Worship, I'd like for you to write her a letter and say, let her know how much we appreciate her coming down.
Absolutely. Consider it done.
The other thing, Your Worship, I want to mention, the North East Avalon Joint Council is meeting tomorrow night in Avondale, and it's the AGM. So I want to mention that if anybody is interested in running for a position and on the Joint Council, this is the AGM. Every 2 years they do a AGM. The other thing is the Chamber of Commerce is having their Best in Businesses tomorrow night, and it's at the Reed Centre, and they have a guest speaker in that tomorrow night. And
it's what's her name? Buckner.
Diane
Buckner. Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting tomorrow night. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to the Joint Councils or if I'm going up to the Chamber dinner. I haven't made my mind up. I'm torn between both of them.
Well, somebody got to go to the Joint Council.